What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and welcome to week 16 of my weekly NFL Picks show for the 2014-2015 NFL season. It's week 16, folks. It's arguably the biggest week of the NFL season. You got pretty much every team that has a chance at the playoffs still has something to fight for in this week, whether you're fighting for a division title, fighting for home field advantage throughout the playoffs, fighting for one of those wild card spots, or in the case of the NFC South, fighting for the worst division in football. In any case, a bunch of teams still have a lot to play for in week 16, so it makes for exciting games. Let's get into my results from week 15, which I say was probably my best week of the season, before we get into the week 16 picks. Also, I very briefly want to point out, I made the mistake of last week cutting out of the video the results from the Pick'em League. I wanted to toss a shout out to Distinctly Mediocre, Jackie Boy on Twitter, NFL Stats Man, for winning last week. Unfortunately, it got cut out of the video, and he's already forgiven me for it, but I still feel like I should apologize. And you might just possibly hear that name again later. Okay, week 15 results. We're going to start with the big three against the spread, and I swept the table on the big three against the spread. Second time in 3 weeks running the table on that. I am on an 8-1 hot streak with my big three against the spread picks, so jump on the train now. Last week I told you to take Arizona plus 4.5. That worked out. They won their game straight up. I told you to take San Francisco plus 10.5. They lost by 10, but it still works out. And I told you to take New Orleans minus 3 in the Monday Nighter, and they absolutely decimated the Chicago Bears, so that worked out as well. 3-0 there. Now 23-20-2 on the season, and God, does it ever feel good to be a couple of games above 500. Hey, speaking of a couple of games above 500, let's look at my overall against the spread record on the season. I went 10-5-1 against the spread last week. Again, my best week. First time hitting double digits on my against the spread picks all year. Now 113, 106, and 5 against the spread on the season. Going to the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze picks from week 15, I ran the table on those two, went 4-0. Bronze pick, told you to take Indianapolis to beat Houston. That worked out. They won their game 17-10. Ryan Fitzpatrick broke his leg in the second quarter. The Texans will turn to Case Keenum for the rest of the season. Indianapolis wins their 4th straight game here. It was a bit of a boring game, but they won their 4th straight, and they clinched the AFC South, so congratulations to the Colts. Silver pick, I told you to take Detroit to beat Minnesota. Didn't look good at first. Detroit wins that game 16-14. After they spotted the Vikings a 14-0 lead. They came back, although they only scored 6 points through the whole second half. It was a bit of a defensive struggle. What I really noticed about this game was Teddy Bridgewater outplayed Matt Stafford in this game. Now, he threw a lot more pass attempts, but Teddy Bridgewater outplayed Matt Stafford in this game, so that was a big up for Teddy Bridgewater in his young career to outplay a guy like Matt Stafford. Gold pick, I told you to take New England to beat Miami because New England just tends to dominate this matchup, and they dominated this game, winning the game 41-13. The Pats clinched the AFC East. That is their 6th straight AFC East title, so big up to the Pats. And they have a chance here, if they win out, with 2 very winnable games left on their schedule against the Jets and the Bills, they could clinch home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. They're in that race there with Denver. And the platinum pick, I told you to take Baltimore to beat Jacksonville. The game was closer than I thought it was going to be. Jacksonville had a lead in this game. Baltimore wins the game 20-12. Baltimore's defense shuts out the Jags in the second half, but they played really sloppy. It was a sloppy game on offense, too many penalties, too many long yardage situations, and Coach Harbaugh talked about that at the end of the game. The AFC North here is still a fight. You got the leader of that division at 9-4-1. You got 2 teams right there at 9-5. So this is going to be probably the most exciting division for the last 2 weeks of the season. Records on the season. Platinum is now 13-2, a great straight-up record. Gold is up to 8-7. Silver and bronze both at 10-5. Overall, straight up in week 15, I went 12-4. Really solid week. 142 up, 81 down, and 1 on the season. I got an outside shot here if I go double digits for the next 2 weeks at breaking my personal best. My personal best is 163 wins on the season. Taking a look at the private pick'em, we picked up one more manager, so that's great. We're now at 41. I am now in 11th place out of 41. I've pulled myself up from 17th or 18th a couple of weeks ago. 1,226 out of 794 possible confidence points. That is a clip of 68%. In week 15, I pulled in a big number. I believe it's my biggest number on the season. 118 out of 136 possible. That's a clip of 87%. I had a really, really good week. Shout out to our week 15 winner, Distinctly Mediocre, second week in a row, Jackie Boy, NFL Statsman on Twitter. 13-3 on the week, 120 out of 136 possible confidence points. That's a clip of 88%, but that goes to show how close last week was. He won with 120, I had 118, and there was a manager in between us at 119, and another one there with 118. It was a really close week last week. Steelers awesome Jeffy-Poo, who has been a subscriber of mine for a couple of years, and I absolutely love any chance I get to talk to him. Steelers awesome Jeffy-Poo is our new overall leader. 147 up, 76 down, and 1 on the season. 1,288 out of 794 possible confidence points. That's a clip of 72%. So shout out to Distinctly Mediocre for his second consecutive win, and to Steelers awesome Jeffy-Poo for becoming the new overall leader. Going to take this opportunity to remind you that if you go to the description of the video, you're going to be able to find all of my results from a phenomenal week 15, all of my week 16 against the spread picks, information on how to join the Bridgewater's Finest playoff pool for week 17 and the playoffs. Remember, we continue through the playoffs, as well as links to other high-quality YouTube prognosticators who don't edit out integral portions of their video. Alright folks, week 16 picks, let's get into them. We're going to start as always with the big three against the spread. And in celebration of the big three against the spread, really, because it was my first season doing it, and now that we've kind of got our feet back under us, we're a couple games over 500, I thought it was time to properly celebrate the big three. Feels like it's here to stay. So for this week, I picked 3 games where the point spread was exactly 3 points. So let's take a look at them. My number 3 play on the big three against the spread this week comes in the Kansas City at Pittsburgh game. Pittsburgh favored by 3 points at home, and that's the way I'm going to tell you to go with it. Pittsburgh -3. Reason for that being, surprisingly, Kansas City actually has a losing record on the road. It's not much. It's like 3-4 or something like that. But Pittsburgh has played very well at home this year. This is the showcase of 2 of the elite running backs in the league, Le'Veon Bell and Jamal Charles, although Jamal Charles could be a little wonky there as to whether or not he starts or plays well, but it's going to be a great defensive battle. It's going to be great on the ground. Pittsburgh -3 at home to Kansas City is going to be my number 3 play on the big three against the spread this week. My number 2 play on the big three against the spread this week comes in the Indianapolis at Dallas game. Dallas favored by 3 points at home, but I'm going to tell you to go take the road dog here and take Indianapolis +3. Indy hasn't been phenomenal on the road this year, but I look at Dallas, and the only reason that Dallas is even remotely in the conversation here for this division is the fact that they've been untouchable on the road. At home, they've been a relatively mediocre team. I mean, I think they have a losing record at home. I think they're 3-4. So, I mean, I think they're going to go to 3-5 here. I think Indianapolis wins this game straight up, much less giving me the 3 points on the underdog side. Dallas's defense has not been impressing me lately. They've been averaging 29 points scored against in their last 4 games. I think they've just got too many weapons, and I think they're going to be able to stretch that Dallas defense. So, number 2 play on the big three against the spread, Indianapolis +3 at Dallas. And my number 1 play on the big three against the spread this week comes in the Denver at Cincinnati game. Cincinnati are 3-point dogs at home. I'm going to tell you to take the road favorites here and take Denver -3. They are still fighting New England here. They want that home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Why wouldn't they? They play so well in Mile High in Denver, so they want that home field advantage. Denver does not want to have to go to New England, potentially, for the AFC Championship game. They do not want to do that, because if they do that, New England's going to the Super Bowl. They are going to beat Denver in New England. I'm going to say that right now, if that's the AFC Championship game and it's in Gillette Stadium. They have to play this game, and Cincinnati is arguably the least reliable team, at least for me. It's one of my least reliable teams in football to bet with this year because they lose games that it feels like they should win, and then they win games that it feels like they should lose. I just think Denver's got enough here. AJ Green, there's always that chance that Green could go for 200 yards, but I mean, Andy Dalton's got something weird going on in his head. It doesn't feel like Dalton's quite playing the way that he should be. Top play on the big three against the spread this week, Denver -3 at Cincinnati. Now let's take a look at the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze picks for week 16 in the NFL. Going to start with the bronze pick, where, as I said, I am 10-5. In my bronze pick, the Detroit Lions travel to Soldier Field to play the Chicago Bears. Two teams going in very opposite directions here. Detroit, of course, with that comeback victory against Minnesota last week, and Chicago, as we mentioned, got kind of beat up by New Orleans on Monday Night Football. Short week here for the Bears, although they do get to stay at home, but they got a team coming in Detroit with an elite-level defense, and Chicago's defense has just done nothing. Like, it feels like they've just rolled over. The only weapon right now that Chicago has and rolls out with any kind of effectiveness is Matt Forte. And it's not that Cutler can't beat them, it's just that Cutler is a mental midget. I have no faith in Jay Cutler right now. As far as I'm concerned, if I'm the Bears GM, Cutler's gone. Trestman can stay. I think Trestman's system actually works when he's got a quarterback that's actually a leader. And Jay Cutler is not a leader. As far as I'm concerned, Cutler and the big salary is gone in the offseason, although that is extremely hard to do. But for the bronze pick, I'm going to tell you to take the road Detroit Lions coming into Chicago. Detroit beats the Bears in Chicago. Silver pick, where I'm also 10-5 on the year, sees the Seattle Seahawks travel to division rival Arizona to play the Cardinals. Arizona is undefeated at home this year still. Seattle, as we've mentioned, not the same team on the road that they are at home. Arizona's got a long week here, having beaten the Rams 12-6 on Thursday night in Week 15. Seattle beating San Francisco 17-7 on Sunday afternoon. In a division of good to great defenses, Seattle and Arizona stand just a little cut above the rest, and really a cut above the rest in the NFC. These are two of the best defenses in football as far as I'm concerned, and Arizona has struggled to put up points this year. I think with the way Seattle is playing right now, it's going to be more than enough for Seattle to win this game. That +8, again, I'm still wonky on it. It feels like a trap line, but at the same time, it's like, oh, it looks so tempting because Arizona's undefeated at home, and Seattle doesn't play as well on the road. It's really tough. I really wanted to put that in my big three this week, but I decided not to. I am going to go with Seattle here. I think Seattle's rolling really well towards the playoffs here, and wherever they get in, I think Seattle's going to be a tough out, even if they're not at home. So for the silver pick for Week 16, I'm going to tell you to take Seattle on the road to beat Arizona. My gold pick, where I'm 8-7, sees the Philadelphia Eagles hitting the road, going to division rival Washington. Both of these teams were on the short end of the stick in Week 15. The Redskins losing to the Giants 24-13. The Eagles coming up short on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys. That being said, Washington is a train wreck, and Philadelphia not quite a train wreck, I guess. Certainly not a train wreck. They're still right in there for the division with Dallas. Philadelphia, I think, is probably the best team in that division. It's not that the Cowboys aren't legitimate, but Philadelphia, overall, probably the best team with the best system. I think they roll over the Redskins here, obviously. It's my gold pick, and for the love of God, I hope the trend with my gold pick doesn't continue, which is win-loss, win-loss. So I'm going to go with the Eagles here on the road to beat the Redskins, and that's my gold pick. Although there's a question for you. In that division with Philadelphia and Dallas, which of those two do you think is overall, with the complete scope of the team, coaching, staff, everything, which one of those teams do you think is actually the better team, Philadelphia or Dallas? I get the feeling that this is going to prompt a little bit of hate in the comments section, but I'm looking forward to it. Answer that question for me. And my platinum pick, where I'm 13-2. My platinum pick's a bit of a risky one this week. Maybe, maybe not. The Green Bay Packers on the road heading to Tampa Bay. Now, why in the world would I say that I think this is a risky one? It's Green Bay not in the comfortable confines of Lambeau Field, for one. They've been a little hit and miss on the road. Tampa Bay, seems to be one of those teams that either plays up to their opponents or their opponents somehow play down to them. Tampa Bay has been competitive in games that I didn't think that they were going to be competitive in. Ultimately, I'm more than comfortable enough to say Green Bay wins this game on the road. That being said, it is a little risky because it's them on the road, and on the road they just haven't been a particularly great team this year. So maybe there's a little bit of risk involved in this. Probably not. For the Platinum pick, I'm going to tell you to take Green Bay on the road to beat Tampa. Now let's take a look at the rest of my straight-up picks for Week 16 in the NFL. Only 1 week to go after this week. It's all coming to an end. That's the Week 16 show for you folks. Comments, hate, and love, you know where they go in the comment section below. It's time for the comment of the week from the Week 15 video. Our comment of the week comes from Sam Gonhue, who has had the comment of the week before. I asked the question last week about the San Francisco 49ers and what would you do if they were your franchise, if they were your responsibility. What would you do with the 49ers? He gave an extremely balanced and really great response to a question about a division rival, which you don't see all the time in conversations about football. So I want to thank Sam for that. So this was his response re the 49ers. The situation is grim, but not dire. We're talking a 7-9 season at worst. Jaguars, Titans, and Jets fans would be joyful to have that record this year. So blowing up the team isn't necessary. What to do if I was the owner? Number 1, get rid of Jim Harbaugh. Trade him to the Raiders for some early round draft picks. He wants to go, his wife doesn't want to move, and Oakland won't be that much more of a commute for Jim. Number 2, hire Mike Tomlin or Ron Rivera if available. Otherwise, look for a sharp offensive coordinator. The 49er defense is good. It's Kaepernick who could use the help right now. 1,000% agree. Number 3, put the GM and family on notice. Any more public tweets calling out the coaching staff will not be tolerated. Work nicely with the new coach or you'll be gone. Number 4, finally, delete my Twitter account. There is nothing that I can say during the season on Twitter that will help the situation. I can always call a press conference congratulating my team when we are successful. So those were great comments, Sam. Thank you very much. You are the comment of the week, and that is the Week 16 show. See you again next week for Week 17, the last week of the NFL regular season. A reminder to everyone that's in the Pick'em pool, we continue the Pick'em pool through the playoffs, so make sure that you don't abandon just as the playoffs start. We got a Week 17 video, and then we're going to get into some playoff predictions, and I cannot wait.